Good evening, folks. Just going to do my trade breakdown from today. So I took a buy on pound yen, and it was actually a managed loss. So I'll kind of break that down and discuss the thoughts and behind that. Now, at the moment, what you can see on the chart is yesterday's daily candle, and this is where we closed yesterday. So my trade was in and around here to fill this wick, which came in, and we then tested the opposite end of the range. Now price was starting to hold this range as support. Okay, so when I came to the chart last night and I'd seen where we were, I had identified looking left where potential targets would be from this time frame alone. Okay, now this is a 4-hour resistance. So I was thinking, well, we get to here, we can then push to here. So ultimately this is a 4-hour target. Now we do have a daily daily resistance in and around here somewhere. Okay, and I drew these on because this is sort of what I was visualizing. This is what I was thinking. I was thinking, well, if we get a pullback into this zone, hold support, and then continue, or if we pull all the way down to the bottom of this zone and hold support, form support, sorry, and then push off, or if we get to the charts tomorrow for London session and we're actually above these levels. So we look at this as the daily candle. That's how it closed. What I'm thinking is, well, what if we don't get such a deep pullback on the start of the new day and we end up here? I would be looking for support maybe to hold above this region, or if we close above, maybe pull back in, and as we start to leave that monthly resistance level, I would be looking to buy up here, or target the target, I should say. So that was my thought process last night, and I just kind of skipped through just until we get to London session, which is roughly around here. So it's what time is this? This is 3 o'clock in the morning, right? So as you can see, we've pushed up and we've actually tapped into the target. Okay, and if I just skip through again, this is the two 4-hour candles have opened, closed bullish, and then closed bearish. So at this time, my session bias is mixed. So buys and sells make sense, right? But for me, I'd already sort of mapped out my sort of buying areas and where I would prefer to buy from. And so although my session bias is mixed, I'm preferring buys. Of course, we are trending bullish, and we've sort of broken out from this 4-hour range and nasty area that we were struggling in quite a lot. So for me, I'm preferring buys in this scenario. So I've already mapped out where my buys are, or where I would sort of anticipate, what we could see. The only thing which was, I wouldn't say like, let me see, I wouldn't say it is an issue, but obviously we have got to push up, support, and continuation. So on the way down, if we do close within here, there is a possibility that this area is going to be some form of reaction, okay, for price. So I just bring on sort of my Asian high, my Asian low areas based off the 30-minute time frame. This is the most recent support and resistance as I come to the chart. Okay, so this is what I'm looking at, and this is okay. So if I skip through a half an hour, that is 6:30, right? Now we can see that we have formed a support and then we have closed below. But again, I'm looking for buys. This is sort of our support zone. You could say like across the board. So ultimately, you want to be kind of below that, the sell, because essentially, if you sell into that, you could have reaction, just how these wicks had formed or reacted up previously. Okay, so that was my thought process, and we can kind of see we had a close below here. Okay, now any other day, like in a mixed bass, things like that, I would take that sell. But I'd already made my mind up that I want to look for buys. Okay, And how we take that would be, you could take it on the close because essentially we are below and it's a strong candle, so I would expect downside. Or you could just place like a sell stop here, and as it breaks, look to take that stops above the resistance. And I would be targeting this support here. So it's giving you roughly a 1-to-1, and as you can see, this does play out within the next candle. So that was my sort of thought process for the sale. So reflecting on the session, right? Reflecting on my session, there was a viable sell option, and quite a lot of people within the community got involved in this. But again, I was sort of looking for buys, and I just kind of go through. We had this candle, right? Now this candle formed at 78, and for me, this fits my plan in terms of what I plan for. I plan for this, right? Price to pull back, and we get a support, right? We obviously don't know where the support's going to form. So when I seen this, I just wasn't comfortable. Like, I wasn't comfortable buying on the 15, right? Now, these two candles here, this is the support formed, and then this candle confirms the support. What I like about this candle is it respects the low, breaks the high. So on the 5-minute time frame, what we're going to have is we're going to have price move down, close, and then we basically push up. We break the high here, then within these candles. So like that is a viable option, right? But what I didn't really like was, personally, what I didn't really like was buying into the support here. Now, as you can see, we've already reacted at it with this candle. So for me, what I was thinking in this scenario was, well, if I'm going to buy this, my first target's going to be our Asian low, and the next target's obviously going to be Asian high, right? So if I was to target Asian low and stops below here, to me, it's not really viable from a risk reward perspective. If I'm thinking about putting myself in the best possible position, I don't think this trades it, So I wasn't comfortable buying on that. Now, if you're a 5-minute trader, by all means, you can get in on here, sort of when we change structure, and buy up to that. But I don't like to go as low as those sort of time frames. I'm not experienced enough in those time frames, so I'm avoiding those. And sort of 30-minute time frame is my sort of like bread and butter in a sense, 30 and above. So if I skip through 30 minutes here, we can see that we did tap into Asian high, right? So that would have been a trade, right? And I do close my positions based on my data at around 0.5. But what I was thinking was, well, there's every chance that this forms bearish candle, and all it does is it just continues down or forms a resistance. There's nothing to say that we're going to get up here, and again, it's just not really putting myself, in the best possible position in the market. So if I skip through then again here, we can see that we then push down, right? So formed the resistance, and then we basically tested the support or the target and tested the bottom of the range. So see if you're looking at this as just a 30-minute time frame, right? And you're going, we have a zone here, break up, we then close below, we then push up, form a lower resistance, sell, right? It's as easy as that. The mixed bias, that's an option. Resistance forms, sell the resistance to target the target, or target the bottom of the range. I know from looking at this range that every time we are within the range, close within, we test the opposite end of the range. And we close in here, we retest the high resistance, push down, close in, test the bottom. We close inside the range, test the top of the range. Close inside the range, test the top of the range. We close inside the range, test the bottom of the range. So this is just a simple break and retest, and lower resistance formed, price targets, and price continues to test the bottom of the range. Okay, now my idea is I'm looking for buys. Okay, so see when this candle formed, 9 o'clock candle. This was the 9.5, 9, right? If I just skip through 30 more minutes, this is how the 1 hour candle closed. So this is how the hourly candle, right? So I actually really like this candle. This candle close. This was appealing to me, and the reason for that was because I was looking at this as a potential like fake out to an extent. Because I'm thinking, right, I'm thinking buy. See when price breaks below, forms a lower resistance, and then continues, right? There's obviously, what time is this? This is 8 o'clock London Open. We're in the half 8. I'm expecting if we're going to continue down, why is this green candle not a red candle? Why is it not down here somewhere, right? You see when this candle closed bullish and actually closed above this resistance, that really caught my eye. And what I liked about that was we're breaking structure again back to the upside. And what confirmed it even more for me was this rejection wick on the 30-minute time frame. What price has done is it's pushed down and it's closed above with this green candle, and then we have pushed down and we've respected this resistance as support, and we've failed to close below, and we've actually closed back above. So this was like, I was like, right, okay, I've got a solid 1 hour confirmation, 30-minute time frame has closed above resistance, and we have respected the resistance support, broke the previous high. This looks good to go to the upside. Okay, now one thing I overlooked was where we are, right? Because still within the reaction zone, we're still within the support zone on the 30-minute time frame. We didn't close outside, so there's, just because we have broken above this resistance and reacted as support, we're still within the zone. So there's every chance the price could just continue to the downside if it really wanted to. You know, there's nothing to say that we're going to go this way, right? So if I just bring on my long position, this was my position here, right? So what I was looking at was lower time frames, the 15-minute. Okay, so obviously this rejection wick on the 30 is just a higher support on the 15, right? Again, if this 30-minute candle or this 15 higher support had have closed up here, I would have been like, bang, clean on the close, right? Essentially what I could have done and what I probably should have done is just bought on the close, stops below the support, target, you know, you see, this is the thing, this is where I was saying, well, your first target's Asian though, right? But you're thinking about this as a potential triangle in a sense where this is our target, this is just a pullback, and we're just forming our support to do that. Then your target would be up here, and it would give you your 1-to-1 or even Asian high, a better risk to reward, and a more comfortable position to be in, because you've got this support, this resistance, this support, all as protection, right? To see when this already candle closed, what I was thinking was, well, there's two things that's going to happen. Because the structure on the lower time frames have already reacted, what I'm thinking is going to happen is, let me just actually take off this long position a second. What I'm thinking of is, well, what we're going to do is we're either going to do that. And the reason I think we're probably going to do that is because this is our support and our resistance. We've closed outside, we've pulled back, and now we've closed here. So all we're doing is buying the continuation, right? So that's what I'm thinking. Either that's going to happen, or the only other thing that's going to happen is we're going to form a higher support somewhere in here, and then as we start to leave this zone, we can buy. So we've got our support, we've broken above resistance, we pull back in, form a support, and then we buy that support, or we wait to prices sort of above the support zone, maybe breaking back in the Asian range, and then we buy that, right? So that's my thought process. But what I sort of done was I bring on my long position here. I was having a wee look at the 5-minute just to see how candles were forming, right? Just having a wee look, see how candles were forming, because I know from my data that usually when we break back into Asian range, we'll test the opposite end of the range, right? Now you could say, well, we broke back into Asian range here, you know, why didn't we test the opposite end of the range? But looking at the sort of confirmations that we had then, we just had one 30-minute candle that closed below, it formed a support below a support with reactions to the downside. So if we had have closed up and inside, it would have been a stronger confirmation. Whereas the difference with this is we have a strong 1 hour candle close above resistance, which clearly rejects the bottom of the hourly support range, right? So this is a stronger confirmation than this. So I was looking at the lower time frames just to kind of see, right? And what I was waiting for was a lower time frame support, because my initial idea, see when I seen this 30-minute candle, 15-minute higher support, I was expecting the continuation. So as soon as I seen lower time frame higher support in and around breaking and closing in the Asian range, I was buying that. Okay, so if I just kind of play through an extra couple of candles, we had this candle which closed inside with a wick to the upside, higher support again on the 5-minute. Brilliant. We've got our support on the 1 hour, support on the 30, rejection wick of resistance on the 30-minute, higher support on the 15-minute, 5 minutes higher support. So I didn't actually buy on this candle. This candle was the N05. So this is the new 4 hour, right? And if I just go back 5 minutes, this is how the 4 hour, candle. If I just go back here, that's how the 4 hour candle closed, right? So big rejection with the downside. And but again, it's still bearish. So we're now buying against 2 bearish candles. So that's going to be tough. However, we've got clear rejection of this. So as much as this is bearish, there's signs on the lower time frames like the 1 hour, 30 minutes lower time frame structure that's telling me that price is likely to go to the upside more than is the downside, right? So when I seen this happen, so if I just skip through again, skip through this 5-minute, the next 5-minute candle closed bearish. So what I done is I set my buy stop, and my buy stop was basically when this candle was flipping breaking, right? Because I was thinking, because we've already had our 1 hour confirmation, candle basically, if I just look, what time is this? This is 10 past. So at this moment in time, basically we've got a 1 hour candle that's like this with we're looking like this, and at the time the 30-minute candle, we were kind of doing something like this, where we were like looking good for continuation, right? We were sitting in around here at the time of me entering, but I was thinking that this candle was then just going to bust the upside. There's nothing to say that it was going to bust, right? But I'm just anticipating continuation because of what we're seeing on the chart. So see when this next 5-minute candle then close back in, and we have formed a higher support lower time frame closing back inside Asian range. What's different from this to this is when we got the resistance, we continue straight down. But on this occasion, we actually cracked the previous support, and then the next candle formed a higher support, right? So I like this idea, and my stop loss was based off of the 15-minute support, because I'm thinking continuation. I'm not expecting price really to come back down. Okay, so that's why my stops are below here. And if I just bring on my horizontal ray, this is where I manually close the position. So as we can see, if I skip to the 15-minute, now this is the 15-minute. So see the 15-minute, when I get in here, there was one 5-minute candle left. So what I was thinking was, well, I was expecting this candle to close up here, right? So what that's going to give me then, that's going to, if I just remove my long position, what that should really give me then is a big 15-minute candle looking like this. Let me just go move this. right? So this is what I'm anticipating current 15-minute candle to look like. I'm getting in and around here. The last 5 minutes of the 15 is going to give us a big push, which is going to be a nice continuation candle off of this support. And then I can look for the next candles to continue up, or at least remain within the structure, and whether they pull back and respect Asian low as support, which is what we have across the board, and then I will get my push to the upside. So that was my thought process, but as we can see, the last 5 minutes actually closed bearish, and what happened then was we closed back down here. So if I just skip the next 15, or sorry, I shouldn't say the last 5 minute closed bearish, because the last 5 minute of that candle is actually this. Well, it did, but my sort of higher support formed with the first 5 minutes of the, which opened at 10:15. So again, we're struggling at this level, and obviously that is because that is our 30-minute support. We still haven't closed above it. So this is the thing. I knew this was a risky trade, and I think I overlooked this, because essentially what I could have said was, yes, we have closed bullish above support or above resistance, but we're still not out of the range. We're still not out of the support reaction area. So what I could have done was, well, I'll wait for a close above, and then any pullbacks in. We respect this and ban that, right? And what I then done was, if I bring on my long position, I skip through the next 15-minute candle. We then closed bearish, and we actually, ended up hitting the full stop. But I managed to close this position at 161.229. And how I managed this position was, I was looking at this. Let me just take off my long position. I was looking at this support zone on the 5 minute, right? So this candle pushed down, we pierced it, but we closed above. So I'm like, okay, there's still a chance for price to do this. Apologies, there's still a chance for price to go to the upside. Then the next candle closed within the zone, but didn't close below. Then the next 5 minute candle closed below. So when this closed below, there's a higher probability of price testing the bottom of this support. And if that happens, my stop loss is basically below the zone. So if we close here, a good chance we'll test here. And if we test here and break, there's a good chance we hit the full stop, right? So I closed out and managed that position. And then what happened was, I just fast forward 30-minute candles. We can see that we pushed down, respected this support, and we started to move to the upside. And that's a trade. Now, I was actually on my lunch at 1 o'clock. Took the dog out. I got some food from about 1 to half 1, then took the dog out a walk. And this is the prime entry. I would have been all over this. See this candle? 1 to 2. Perfect entry. Reason being is this candle here, if I just remove my long position, this candle here, it is treated the exact same as this candle, in that we have closed strong bullish, but we have closed within the sort of support zone and below Asian low. So see, when the next 30-minute candle pushes down, kind of like this one, creates a higher support, but this one breaks the high and actually closes inside the range. So this would have been a perfect opportunity for me to buy here. Stops can go below this candle or below the support. I can look to test Asian high, or I can look to test the overall 4-hour target that I had planned from yesterday. So there was and if I just skip to the 1 hour as well, there's the 1 hour does it really nice. It closes above the support, above the zone. We push down, higher support, and then we continue. So really, really nice price action today, and unfortunate that I was on my lunch that I didn't capture this. And of course, it is towards the end of the month. I don't need to trade every day. I was in a good position to give it another stab after having a trade yesterday. But I think I was just a little bit too early, right? I think if I had have recognized at the time that this candle has still closed below, the hourly support zone, still within it, and recognize that what we could do is react here and form a lower resistance. I probably would have waited, because just because we closed above this resistance doesn't mean that we're going to go up. We're still within the support zone. We're still below the support zone. So there's every chance we can just react, or like maybe say range in here, and this just becomes like our range below this. Sorry, I should say below that. But price did what I, forecasted it to do. Again, just reviewing the trades, there was obviously an opportunity to buy on this support. You'd have bought on this support because we had a support formation. One candle really doesn't mean much, and that's not really a strong candle that I would buy on. However, the next candle confirms the support. You could even buy up to this resistance. That's below the support. There's a good trade. Test Asian low, test Asian high, test the overall higher time frame play. Wonder trade. And I seen Igor actually get in this today, and he got involved in this close and this close, and they were super trades. So that's my sort of breakdown on this. And of course, lower time frame trades. There's a trade here, support again, formed, confirmed, buy that. This one breaks the high, closes above, test that. This one closes above, test that, stops below, you would still be in the trade. Again here, multiple opportunities, all at the low of this zone. But yeah, definitely really good day for learning and understanding, because kind of just broken that down. And it's made things a lot more clear to myself as to how I could have got involved, what I could have done, how I could have managed positions. And as long as your stops are below the structure stays intact, then we should still respect the structure and continue the overall higher time frame direction. But yeah, that was my trade. So it was a managed loss today, and based on the 15-minute using stop loss, ultimately the idea was based off of this 1 hour closing, my confirmation. So in saying that, you could say that my stop loss should have been based off of the 1 hour then. If that was the case, I still would have, I would have remained in the trade in that sense, or the trade wouldn't have hit stop loss. I think having my stops below the 15-minute where I had them, it did sort of limit me to managing, or not, I shouldn't say limit me to managing, limited me to, what's the word I'm looking for? Didn't give me there wasn't enough, I should say, like cover. When I like to, when stop losses are below or above structure, there's usually a sort of level within that structure. I sort of get out of jail card. And the higher the time frame, the easier to manage. But because this was, stops were based on the 15, didn't really give me much, couldn't really do much if price came against me. But the 5-minute structure was looking quite nice. We're respecting that, so I was able to get out on that basis. But ideally, I don't typically use that sort of low of a time frame. It was only because the structure was so nice. Essentially, I could have just picked a position and says, you know what, price gets to here, closing, because I'm expecting price to go this way, price is going the other way. And if we're going to react off of this support as resistance, then there's a chance we can go back down to the bottom of the range again. So that's my sort of breakdown. Apologies, it's a long one, but it's one that I felt like I wanted to go into detail on, because there was quite a lot of things I picked up on throughout the session and throughout the day, and reflect back on this multiple entries.